are these people?
Yeah, we're going to talk a little. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Mahmoud Khalil and what's happening there, as well as what's happening with all of the people that are now being rounded up and deported. So Arturo Dominguez, who we talked about last week, we might have even read. I know I read one of his pieces a couple weeks ago. Decolonized journalism, good independent journalist, writes for Unicorn Riot independently as well for himself here at Decolonized Journalism. He says manufacturing consent to deport green card holders or permanent residents. Recent comments by administration officials suggest that green card holders are at greater risk of deportation than ever. And thank you, Jonathan H, for the Cash App. $20. Thank you. Woohoo!
Appreciate it.
Recent comments from VP J.D. Vance. Let me blow this up a little bit more. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen fucking Miller. I will see you in the aftermath. Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio and President Donald Donnie Tiny Hands Zio Cuck Trump about the arrest of Columbia University and graduate student Mahmoud Khalil indicate that green card holders, I can't say that quickly, are at risk of deportation.
Do you speak it? English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Barely. For simply exercising their right to their English, motherfucker, do they speak it? The administration's doubling down exposes the dubious reasons for targeting permanent residents. While Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs Tricia McLaughlin alleges that Khalil led activities aligned to Hamas, which he didn't, many have asked about evidence to bolster this claim, but have received no tangible response. Shocker. When I asked the Department of State, a spokesman passed the buck saying for questions on removals, we refer you to the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration, and Customs Enforcement. How convenient. On Friday, J.D. Vance made an appearance on Fox News saying that green card holders don't have an indefinite right to be in the United States, despite being permanent residents. He reiterated a common talking point heard recently from several in the administration to justify targeting people like Khalil. Vance continued saying it's not about free speech. It's about who we as American citizens decide gets to join our national community. Garbage. I'm not playing it because I'm not.
It's the eyeliner.
It's Guyliner. That's right. Guyliner. That's right. He's got. I guarantee you, he's wearing lipstick too.
Yeah.
The administration claims that Khalil promoted anti-Semitic and pro-Hamas ideas. However, that does not appear to be true. But by ADL's definition, anything that supports Palestinians is technically pro-Hamas and anti-Semitic. So that's where they're making this claim from. And as long as they're in charge, they feel like they don't need to substantiate anything because who's going to stop them?
Yep. Correct.
Meanwhile, many in the administration have echoed anti-Semitic talking points and uphold the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which is built on xenophobic and anti-Semitic ideas. Kind of funny how they project exactly what they say. Many in the administration hold similar... I
wouldn't say the Great Reset actually is that, though. But
No, not Great Reset. This is Great Replacement.
Oh. Yeah.
They're replacing white people with brown babies. Replacement theory.
They took our germs.
Kind of. All right. Many in the administration hold similar beliefs, such as the DOD's Deputy Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson, who once said, quote,
Wilson.
The Great Replacement isn't a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's reality. Vance is echoing a position heard recently throughout the administration, and Republicans in Congress are likely to start parroting it soon enough. Rubio recently posted on Twitter that the State Department will be revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters, but no one in the administration will clarify what it believes is and isn't anti-Semitism. Well, they certainly want to define that, but they can't say it out loud yet because it's not officially law. They want to pass the Stop Anti-Semitism Hate Act, which then basically makes criticizing Israel anti-Semitism. Arturo, by the way, also about this, the Marco Rubio thing, if you want to watch that, you can watch my segment on the homeless left from Tuesday. You can go watch it on THL on YouTube or on his Rumble account on the homeless left or on IndieMediaToday.com. I'll show you what that looks like at the end. But I sat down with him and he actually played that for me to get my reaction to what that was, in respect to Mahmoud Khalil. Instead, Trump's White House has made the inherent Islamophobia behind their false claims of anti-Semitism more evident than ever. And it's not just Islamophobia, it's also Venezuelaphobia, I'll make up. Trump also got in on the messaging campaign on Truth Social saying, quote, "This is the first arrest of many to come," signaling to green card holders that his anti-immigrant crusade includes them too. "We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country." He continued conflating protest with terrorism as if this was Cuba or Venezuela. Okay. Trump then said, "If you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here." To further highlight the Islamophobia and anti-Arab sentiments behind it all, he said, This as if we can't see that the Trump administration sent $12 billion to Israel to continue the slaughter of Palestinian men, women, and children." Of course, Stephen fucking Miller got in on the action. He too conflated right to free speech with terrorism in a post on Twitter, saying, quote, "No one has the right to a visa or a green card. If you support terrorism, we don't want you here." He's saying things like, "Vast numbers of foreign nationals who support terrorism and reject American values have been awarded visas. Revoking them is a national..."
Terrorism. Terror organization, terrorist attacks. Terrorism, terrorist network, terrorist attacks, terrorist group, terrorists.
Revoking
I feel
them
like you
is
have to play the whole thing every time.
National security imperative. We must admit only those that embrace the core principles of our civilization. Highlights just how far the administration will go and how it tends to use the State Department to perceive power to silence dissent. Remember, folks, U.S. aid was rolled back into, ? The State Department. Right. Is this douchebag now running U.S. aid effectively? I think so.
Yep.
A separate example lies in a recent press release from the DHS about another Columbia University student who self-deported to Canada because they didn't want to get fucked with here. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem took the opportunity to add fuel to the anti-immigrant fire, going so far to claim they had the footage of her using the CBP Home app to self-deport, but the video only offered the video offered only showed someone in what appeared to be an airport. Like literally. That's her self-deportation? Yeah, she couldn't get the fuck out of here fast enough. The video isn't evidence of anything except someone at an airport. However, simply insinuating that she used the app is enough to rile up those who support these policies. Otherwise, to everyone else, it's yet another lie among so many, like the false equivalency of protesting against genocide and supporting terrorism.
People just say stupid shit.
All right. Ranjani Srinivasan, who is a citizen and national of India, entered the United States on an F1 student visa as a doctoral student in urban planning at Columbia University. Srinivasan was involved in activities supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization, according to the State Department. On March 5th, the Department of State revoked her visa. The DHS has obtained video footage of her using the CBP Home app to self-deport on March 11th. That's the person in Canada.
Right.
The statement also included information about the arrest of a third student from Colombia, Leka Cordia, a Palestinian from the West Bank. We did talk about this. Equating protesters with terrorism isn't a new phenomenon. We've seen it throughout history. More recently, Black Lives Matter protesters were equated with domestic terrorism and supporters of Hamas during the civil rights protests of 2020. We're seeing it now being employed against people who speak out against genocide. All right. The DHS press release ended with a quote attributable to Kristi Noem. In it, she emphasizes they're linking protesters to terrorism despite it being fraudulent. Where the idea to include the CBP Home app in all this came from is beyond me, but I can only attribute it to the administration attempting to make it seem as though their policies are working, especially considering it's struggling to meet the demands it set for itself. Okay. Noam says, I'm glad to see one of the Columbia terrorist sympathizers use the Home app to self-deport. No, they're running the fuck away because they don't want to be arrested and rounded up and thrown in an ICE jail for weeks like Mahmoud Khalil has been.
Yeah.
The use of phrases that suggest immigrants don't have a right to equal protection under the law and using words like privilege to minimize visa and green card holders' rights is all part of an effort to target non-white immigrants. And white immigrants, for that matter. It's becoming clear that the precedent they're setting could inevitably lead to federal agencies using seemingly benign posts on social media to target people, whether it be speaking out against police brutality or genocide. And they're going to use the AI to do it, too. We've already covered that. That they're going to start using AI to
privatize it,
to
have AI do it.
Scrape social media and report out potential offenders to DHS and have them deported. Yeah. Arturo concludes the ultimate goal of messaging like this is to manufacture consent to do it. The more they repeat the lie, the more they think people will justify it. They do it because it works. This strategy only requires people's opinions to shift subtly, leaving them where they'll agree that something needs to be done, but not too harshly. We saw this with the mass deportation hysteria, and we'll continue to see it if they keep succeeding. And he again says that he contacted DHS for clarification about Srinivasan's use of the CBP Home app, but of course received no response.
Mm-hmm.
Now, along the lines of the deportation stuff, our friend and Indie Media Award honoree at Decensored News, class of 2024, published out a four-page letter that was released by Mahmoud Khalil's lawyer that he wrote while in ICE detention. This was published on Wednesday. So, Decensored writes, it's now been roughly a week and a half since Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, a recent Columbia University graduate and legal permanent resident of the U.S., was arrested by plainclothes federal agents and threatened with deportation over his participation in the on-campus protests against Israel's U.S.-backed genocide in Gaza. And again, we covered that extensively last week on this show, or at least I did. Events have been unfolding quickly, and among them, and I wanted to bring this because this is what's happened this week. His arrest was criticized by the ACLU, FIRE, First Amendment Coalition, ADC, and many others, and even Ann Coulter. Hundreds of Jewish protesters wearing the Not in Our Name shirts staged a sit-in at Trump Tower demanding Khalil's immediate release, at least 98 of whom were reported arrested. Many more protesters marched in the streets of New York City and elsewhere. Mahmoud Khalil's 8 months pregnant wife, Noor Abdallah, a U.S. citizen, issued a statement on the arrest. DHS Deputy Secretary Troy Edgar was unable to give a single example of Khalil's alleged terrorist activity, support of terrorism, or any criminal activity at all when pressed during an interview. The Trump administration sent a widely criticized letter to Colombia with a list of erroneous demands, including expulsions or multi-year suspensions for Hamilton Hall and encampments.
Right.
The Columbia University Judicial Board announced that they had expelled, suspended, or revoked the degrees of a number of students, 22 of them as of last week, according to CUAD, including a Jewish student named Grant Minor, president of Columbia Student Workers Union, who again we covered last week was fired as the president of their workers union. And then we talked about Ron Johnny, who self-deported. Most recently, the Southern District Court of New York ruled that Khalil's case should be transferred to New Jersey, where he was initially taken shortly before his habeas petition was filed. Quote, if the court allowed this case to play out in Louisiana, it would be rewarding the Trump administration's unlawful attempt to manipulate jurisdiction by transferring Mr. Khalil across state lines in the middle of the night. Unquote. The judge also reaffirmed that a previous ruling that blocked Mr. Khalil's deportation in the absence of a court order, according to his lawyers at the Center for Constitutional Rights. Despite all of this, there is one important voice that we had not heard from since Mahmoud Khalil's arrest, and that is the man himself, Mahmoud Khalil.
Correct.
That changed Tuesday when CCR published a letter that he dictated over the phone from an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. As was the case for Lily Greenberg Call and others, many media outlets are only quoting parts of the letter, often without even linking to the entire unedited text. We think Mahmoud Khalil deserves to be heard in full, so here it is. Letter from a Palestinian political prisoner in Louisiana. Dictated over the phone from ICE detention, March 18, 2025. My name is Mahmoud Khalil and I'm a political prisoner. I am writing to you from a detention facility in Louisiana, where I wake to cold mornings and spend long days bearing witness to the quiet injustices underway against a great many people precluded from the protections of the law. Who has the right to have rights? It is certainly not the humans crowded into the cells here. It isn't the Senegalese man I met who's been deprived of his liberty for a year, his legal situation in limbo, and his family an ocean away. It isn't the 21-year-old detainee I met who stepped foot in this country at age 9, only to be deported without so much as a hearing. Justice escapes the contours of this nation's immigration facilities. On March 8th, happy birthday, Reef, I was taken by DHS agents who refused to provide a warrant and accosted my wife and me as we returned from dinner. By now, the footage of that night has been made public. Before I knew what was happening, agents handcuffed and forced me into an unmarked car. At that moment, my only concern was for Noor's safety. I had no idea if she would be taken too, since agents had threatened to arrest her for not leaving my side. DHS would not tell me anything for hours. I didn't know the cause of my arrest or if I was facing immediate deportation. At 26 Federal Plaza, I slept on the cold floor. In the early morning hours, agents transported me to another facility in Elizabeth, New Jersey. There, I slept on the ground and was refused a blanket despite my request. My arrest was a direct consequence of exercising my right to free speech as I advocated for a free Palestine and an end to the genocide in Gaza, which resumed in full force Monday night. With January ceasefire now broken, Parents in Gaza are now once again cradling too small shrouds, and families are forced to weigh starvation and displacement against bombs. It is our moral imperative to persist in the struggle for their complete freedom. I was born in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria to a family which has been displaced from their land since the 1948 Nakba. I spent my youth in proximity to yet distant from my homeland. But being Palestinian is an experience that transcends borders. I see in my circumstances similarities to Israel's use of administrative detention, imprisonment without trial or charge, to strip Palestinians of their rights. I think of our friend Omar Khatib, who was incarcerated without charge or trial by Israel as he returned home from travel. I think of Gaza hospital director and pediatrician Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, who was taken captive by the Israeli military on December 27th and remains in an Israeli torture camp today. For Palestinians, imprisonment without due process is commonplace. I've always believed that my duty is not only to liberate myself from the oppressor, but also to liberate my oppressors from their hatred and fear. My unjust detention is indicative of the anti-Palestinian racism that both the Biden and Trump administrations have demonstrated over the past 16 months as the U.S. has continued to supply Israel with weapons to kill Palestinians and prevented international intervention. For decades, anti-Palestinian racism has driven efforts to expand U.S. laws and practices that are used to violently repress Palestinians, Arab Americans, and other communities. That is precisely why I am being targeted. While I await legal decisions that hold the futures of my wife and unborn child in the balance, those who enabled my targeting remain comfortably at Columbia University. Presidents Shafiq, Armstrong, and Dean Yarhi Milo laid the groundwork for the U.S. government to target me by arbitrarily disciplining pro-Palestinian students and allowing viral doxing campaigns based on racism and disinformation to go unchecked. Columbia targeted me for my activism, creating a new authoritarian disciplinary office to bypass due process and silence students criticizing Israel. Columbia surrendered to federal pressure by disclosing student records to Congress and yielding to the Trump administration's latest threats. My arrest and the expulsion or suspension of at least 22 Columbia students, some stripped of their bachelor's degrees just weeks before graduation, but not refunded their tuition, and the expulsion of SWC President Grant Minor on the eve of contract negotiations are clear examples. If anything, my detention is a testament to the strength of the student movement in shifting public opinion toward the Palestinian liberation. Students have long been at the forefront of change, leading the charge against the Vietnam War, standing on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and driving the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Today, too, even if the public has yet to fully grasp it, it's students who steer us toward truth and justice. It's the kids, man. The Trump administration is targeting me as a part of a broader strategy to suppress dissent. Visa holders, green card carriers, and citizens alike will all be targeted for their political beliefs. In the weeks ahead, students, advocates, and elected officials must unite to defend the right to protest for Palestine. At stake are not just our voices, but the fundamental civil liberties of all. Knowing fully that this moment transcends my individual circumstances, I hope nonetheless to be free to witness the birth of my firstborn child. And may he be a healthy and masculine child. If it's a boy, obviously, but also it just, again, for a little bit of levity, but Free Mahmoud Khalil, motherfuckers. Come on. What the hell, man?
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But Mahmoud Khalil wasn't the only one. Okay. Independent journalist Sanaa Saeed, formerly of Al Jazeera Plus. So Momodou Taal files a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's executive order on deportations of foreign students, then asks the judge to preemptively stop the Trump admin from deporting him, and the admin immediately responds with an order for him to surrender to ICE for deportation. The eradication of the First Amendment has been hastened in service of genocide overseen by this country and executed by another.
Yeah.
And
But at least
finally,
we'll have a balanced budget.
I don't think we would either way. We're still 36 trillion in debt. Sanaa also tweets, and she quote tweets this horrifying video about the Krome Detention Center in Miami, Florida, and we're going to watch that in a second. Mexicans, Venezuelans, Guatemalans, and others are being abducted, held without processing or access to representation. They are in the United States. They have domestic and international human and civil rights, regardless of their immigration status. Claudia Scheinbaum, he's specifically asking for you. Here's the translation.
Light Scheinbaum.
Quote, please make this go viral. This is what's happening right now at the Krome Detention Center in Miami, Florida. We've basically been kidnapped. Some people have been here 30 days and haven't been processed yet. Please make this go viral. Help us report this to the National Commission for Human Rights, to the national TV stations. This is not a joke. This is serious. Please help us. It's at the Krome Detention Center in Miami, Florida. Please help us. Claudia Scheinbaum, I know you're going to see this. There are many, many Mexicans here who, together with our Venezuelan and Guatemalan brothers, are suffering discrimination. Help us, please.
Yep.
They aren't allowing us to make phone calls. We can't do anything. I'm not alone in this. You'll hear more testimonies. Please make this go viral. Help us, please. Help us, SOS. And here's one of the videos.
Por favor, que esto se haga viral. Esto está pasando ya mismo en el centro de detención Krome en Miami, Florida. Estamos prácticamente secuestrados. Hay personas que llevan más de 30 días y no han sido procesadas. Por favor, que esto se haga viral. Ayúdenos, marquen la Comisión Nacional de Derechos Humanos, marquen por favor a las televisoras del Estado. Esto no es una broma, esto es en serio, por favor, ayúdenos. Es el Krome de Miami, Florida. Por favor, ayúdenos. Claudia Sheinbaum, sé que vas a ver esto. Habemos muchos mexicanos aquí sufriendo discriminación. Hermanos venezolanos, hermanos guatemaltecos, ayúdenos, por favor. No nos permiten hablar no nos permiten llamadas telefónicas, no podemos hacer absolutamente nada. No es solo mi testimonio, van a escuchar más testimonios. Por favor, hagan viral esto.
He's literally sitting under a table recording this.
Yep.
This is all them sitting in the detention center. 30 days they're in there.
Ayúdenos, por favor, ayúdenos. SOS.
Help us, please, help us. Fucking terrible. Oh, by the way, Osiris 982 on
982.
Jesus. I mean, just again, we are funding and arming and doing all of this. And we're definitely not getting remonetized for stuff like that. So if you are able to, out of means, please, I hate begging and I hate doing this.
Money, please.
That one. We could use some help. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal. even Substack if you must, but please try to do one of the other three if you can. The reason being that they don't take very many fees. We end up with the most possible money. If you super chat on my channel, you are able to. YouTube takes 30%. If you Rumble rant, they take 50%. Now, you could Rumble subscribe to the channel, the little red button that says subscribe and the little red gift. They give us all of that. So that's cool. You can do that. But again, Cash App, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And that worked. Use it this week. And thank you so much to Sean. And thank you so much to Kameshwari Kate. And thank you so much to Charlie Mack Friday night, and to Colin Care Bear and everybody else that contributes. It's incredible. Thank you. It really helps, and it really helps, keeps us going. If you're able to, Cash App, $Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. That's with an IE. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. I love you all. And I'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone.
All people are afraid. No one knows what they're doing. Everything is getting worse. Some people deserve to die. Your money is worthless. No one is properly dressed. At least one of your children will disappoint you. The system is rigged. Your house will never be completely clean. All teachers are incompetent. There are people who really dislike you. Nothing is as good as it seems. Things don't last. No one is paying attention. The country is dying. God doesn't care. Shh.
Good night, everyone.
Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen. What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me.